All right. Welcome, everybody, to today's Building Forward. My name is Emily Barony, and I'm the owner and founder of Visionality. And this is my colleague, Christiana Almeida, who is our Senior Project Manager of Fundraising. Today, I am so excited. We are going to recap 3 of our end-of-year campaigns that we just wrapped up. They were wildly successful, if I may toot my colleague's horn and the horn of our clients. And so we wanted to just run through these 3 campaigns. We want to talk about what worked, what didn't work, what we're going to suggest they do differently next time. And then at the end, cover any surprises, things that were unexpected for us. And then I think really importantly for our conversation coming into this new year is talking about what was the pre-work that contributed to the success, right? So the end of year campaign happens obviously at the end of the year, but it doesn't just magically poof, pull in all this money, right? It took 9 months of prep and foundation building to really get us there. So we're going to recap the successes, go through these 3 campaigns and the components that made them successful, but then also really focus in on what's the work we all need to be doing in the next 9 months to set ourselves up for success at this end of year campaign. So y'all know the deal, building forward, 25 minutes, pretty spicy. There might be some bad words and certainly some dog barking. Setting our timer for 25 minutes, 3, 2, 1, go. Christiana.
Emily.
Talk to me about, I'm sorry?
By the way, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. We're wonderful.
And Mercury's almost out of retrograde. So hooray. Praise be. Anyways.
So the first campaign we're going to talk about is for CAVC, Community Action Ventura County. So talk me through what we did for them, maybe what the campaign looked like, what the core components are. Take it away.
Thank you. I'm going to do a little bit of screen sharing. We don't often do presentations because looking at PowerPoint slides tends to be super boring. And I agree, it is super boring. But I want to walk you through a couple of things that we got going on here. So first things first, I did want to talk about all of the tools that we use and double checking that y'all can see this really beautiful PowerPoint that I literally put together 5 minutes ago. So go me.
Go you.
So when looking at what your campaign is, you need to look at all of the tools in your toolbox, because then you're going to figure out what tools you're going to pull out of your toolbox for any campaign. It could be your end of year campaign, it can be a middle of the year campaign, etc. I put stewardship in as a tool because stewardship actually is a fundraising tool. It is not just what happens at the end of a gift to be thanked, but it also is, when done properly, stewardship is going to help you actually ask for the next gift. So when looking at what we wanted to do for each of our clients, we looked within our toolbox, and we'll kind of walk through the first client here, which is going to be Community Action of Ventura County. We really adore them. They do a lot of work with our homeless and low-income communities as it pertains to making sure that they're able to put food on their table, that their utility bills aren't, through the roof, through subsidies, as well as home energy work as well. And so we did a, this is basically the first time they've done a formal end of year campaign as well. So that's another thing that I want to say. Like last year, we implemented their donor database. So they actually had nobody in their donor database. So we were starting to build that out. And the big goal for this campaign was really to get them thinking about how to do a campaign from like start to finish. And so we had a couple components to this. We did email, social, and print. So for the print campaign, which was in the middle here, you'll see that we actually did cards. So like greeting cards almost. And so we did 3 different greeting cards that got mailed to the same people through over a 6-week time period. We also had the 3 emails that went out as well matched 3 themes that we had developed. So we had developed basically lifting communities out of poverty, easing the burden of food, and then also making sure that homes are prepared. So it was this 3-pronged campaign. We had 3 emails that went out every 2 weeks. Each email supported one aspect of that campaign. And then we had social posts for each of those three prongs as well. So for instance, when we talked about preparing homes for all seasons, that was the only message that was going out for 2 weeks. So it was the card that was mailed, it was the email that went out, it was the social media that was posted. So we like 6-week campaigns because we like starting things mid-November, because everybody seems to start their end of year campaign on Giving Tuesday, which I hate Giving Tuesday. You've all heard that before. But we like to kind of get ahead of that game as well. So we start mid-November for the vast majority of our campaigns, also because it allows us to have multiple themes or sub-themes within a larger theme.
So I just want to pause
Yeah.
real quick. So to recap what you said, there were 3 overarching themes that we had already developed throughout the year. And then we do a 6-week campaign, and
Yep.
every 2 weeks we drop cross-channel with each of the themes. So not 3 themes at the same time, but theme 1 for 2 weeks across all the channels, which was mail, social, and email.
Yep.
And then next 2 weeks, second theme, third 2 weeks, third theme.
You got it, girl.
Thanks.
You're welcome. 2 other tools that we used for community action of Ventura County is Amazon wish lists, because they work with our homeless and low income communities. In-kind donations are really important to them, but a lot of their in-kind donations actually need to be sterilized and unopened packages in order for them to use, especially like socks, underwear, etc. Those are all really important aspects of serving our homeless community, but getting those items fresh, clean, unused is even more important. So they had an Amazon wish list that we actually launched on Cyber Monday. And so again, jumping ahead of Giving Tuesday, so they also had an additional email that went out on Cyber Monday that was very Cyber Monday like themed. It covered like, hey, like while you're shopping for yourself, like go ahead and add some items to your cart that will go directly to them. The thing I like about Amazon wish lists for nonprofits is that anybody can buy the items and they'll get shipped directly to the organization. And so it's a really nice way that if you have like a heavy in-kind component to your work, that you can actually get that in-kind component taken care of without needing to go collect things in the community. And then the last item was this tool that we're using now called ThankView. So instead of thank you, ThankView. ThankView has been a really great piece of video software where we can customize. It's a short little video snippet of, their executive director, Susie. She's in her office, wearing a CAVC shirt. And she's basically talking through like why giving is so important, like what people are supporting, like all the accomplishments that they had in the past year as well. And it was a 45-second video that we sent out the final week of the campaign. So that December 30th week. So this campaign raised a couple $1,000s. It wasn't large, but again, like we're just building their donor database from scratch. And so it was really more about the process and getting them used to the process of doing an end of year campaign than it was the dollars raised. So that'll start to come as they continue to grow their database.
Well, and I think that's such an important like grounding point of like, yes, of course we want to raise money, but there are we are all starting from different points. And so if the starting point was literally like putting the first person into the donor database, that's going to yield like very different results than a very established organization who already has these processes in place. So I think it's important. It's not fair just to compare dollars to dollars because we're all starting at different places.
No, I think that's an absolutely important way to look at that. Okay, I'm just checking to see where we are. Okay, 7.5 minutes.
Is there anything that you think we should have done differently or will do differently next time on this campaign?
I liked the cards. I think that they may have been too much for a first year campaign. But I liked the messaging because we had messaging inside each card that was different as well to like match that theme. So I think that we possibly could have done like one overarching card instead of the 3 cards. That would have reduced costs and some effort in terms of the return on investment. Again, like it's an organization that's just starting. So it perhaps like we just went a little overboard on that style of messaging.
Well, and I want to underscore too that all of the messaging was mission forward, right? So like Again. Yes, I love a card, and it needs to be on mission, on message, like within the theme of the campaign.
Yes.
Awesome. Anything else before we move to the next campaign?
No, that's good on that one.
All right, CIR. The next one we're going to cover is Channel Islands Restoration.
Okay, so Channel Islands Restoration is one of our newer clients. Let me pull them up here. So they had just started with us in October. And so this was a little bit of like a sprint finish to get their end of year campaign done. And this was literally the first thing we worked on. When we bring clients on for fundraising and communications, we actually like to do like a 2 to 4 month assessment of the development and communications program before launching into work, just so we get an idea of like, what are the strengths, what are the opportunities, what are the capabilities, what does staffing look like? But we had to just kind of dive in head first on this, which was totally fine. The tools that we ended up using for this, thankfully we got in early enough that we were able to mention the end of year campaign coming as part of their fall newsletter. So an existing piece that was going out to thousands of individuals to let them know that this was coming. Their theme was simply "The Work Continues." The reason for that is because Channel Islands Restoration was working very closely hand in hand with the Save the San Marcos Hills campaign this year. And so the Channel Islands Restoration organization is now tasked with the restoration of the West Mesa. So now that the land has been purchased, the land needs to be properly restored. The habitats need to be, fixed, updated, and a lot of the damage just needs to be undone. And that's why we went with The Work Continues, because even though they had participated and had helped raise the immense like $18.6 million as part of the Foothills Forever campaign, like their work did not end when that campaign ended. Their work was continuing. And so that was what we tied that entire theme through all of their components. And so we did a card as well. So for the card, we had our graphic designer do their card. We also did a couple of emails and a thank you again from their executive director, Ken. I love to use these thank you videos or even just the examples, because I feel like nonprofits feel like that they need to be so incredibly polished in order to do video work, when in fact, like you don't. Like, if anything, like being a little more being genuine, like comes across as a very authentic voice instead of like a very polished voice. And then with Thank You, you're actually able to individualize videos that go out to people. So for instance, like we went through Ken's major donor list of people that were assigned to him to solicit. And for Thank Yous, like he was able to say, hey, Susie, it's been really nice to get to know you this past year. We've loved having you along for, some of our trips out to the Santa Rosa Islands. As you know, we're in the middle of our end of year campaign, yada, yada, yada. And so we were able to use Thank You as either a broad messaging tool, which is what we did for CABC, but then we were also able to kind of take that tool and individualize it a little bit more, which is what Ken did. I think he ended up doing like 20 something videos, like, because this was really important to him. And, he's just a trail guy. Like, so like he's in his office, like he's got his like plaid shirt on, like, he brushed his hair, but it's like at the end of the day, like he didn't feel this need to be super highly polished as an executive director. And I think that really resonated with a lot of their
well, and that's not their organization. They're and so again, like underscoring all of these pieces need to fit in with your mission, vision, values, and like the real identity and brand identity of your organization. Like it would feel weird if he was in a suit or like with in a like formal office. That would be weird.
Yeah, no, their donors are the like dirt on your boots kind of donors. Like they're the people that like love to show that they love to do events together. They love to hike together. They love to be outside together. But these are not people you're going to find like attending a gala for, Channel Islands anytime soon.
Well, and it's so interesting, Christiana, because we get this really cool perspective because we get to work across so many organizations, and they all have the thing they think they should be. Like, oh, we would raise more money if we did this, or if we were like that organization, or if we had this mission. And it's like, no, lean in, like love your mission, vision, values, love who you are. Like great marketing attracts your ideal people and repels everybody else. Like if you're not a dust on the boots kind of person, then good.
Yeah.
Go be free and go love a different organization, you know?
And
I
then
also
go for it.
I also want to like take a minute. Y'all, this is it's not rocket science, right? You know, so many organizations are thinking like, oh, I need the new sparkle shiny thing. You're gonna see that the strategies that we employed were pretty similar across the different organizations. And so we really look at like, what are the basics? Like nail the basics, get the basics finished. And don't feel like you need to do like all these weird, wonky, newfangled things. Like just, you know, do the good work and put out the good work, and the dividends are going to come back to you.
Yeah. And one of the things that Channel Islands Restoration had in their back pocket that our other clients didn't is that they actually had a matching donor that was willing to donate, you know, match up to $10,000. And so we were able to do an entire email campaign and set of social media posts one week for that. Which was really nice. And so that's one thing that like we had tried to apply across the board, but we just couldn't find a donor. And I think that our lead time to find those donors needed to be a little bit longer. So I would say that was certainly an area for improvement, is find a matching donor, but take the lead time to find that matching donor. But yeah, Channel Islands had one. And so they had a $10,000, you know, matching gift, you know, announcement as part of their campaign. And I thought that that was really wonderful. And we saw, you know, a really good result from it. And they ended up raising $25,000 more than they had the year before. So that was a pretty solid improvement for them. And this is an organization that is like just starting to come into their own when it comes, like they're a 20-year-old organization now. But they're just starting to come into their own, like as it pertains to like formalizing processes, like having, like setting some of these goals. And so it was really good to see that, like, even though we came into into the game pretty late with them, we were still able to execute something that still garnered pretty solid return on investment, even after, you know, because don't forget the Foothills Forever campaign was this past year. And so that was an $18.6 million capital campaign that they were technically competing against, because they didn't keep that $18.6 that was used for the land purchase. And so the fact that they were able to even eke out like additional above like what they had done last year, I thought was really awesome.
Anything you think we should have done differently, or will suggest to do differently next time?
I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do with more lead time on this, you know, on this project. We'll talk about this on our next client, but we started that project in August for their end of year campaign. And I think that, you know, Channel Islands Restoration is such like, they have such beautiful imagery. Like they take care of some of the most beautiful areas on the Central Coast. And so to me, like having a little more time to like really take advantage of that imagery, I think would be really incredible.
Yeah, love it. All right, ready? We got like 8 minutes left. Here we go. Final client, Girls Inc. Talk to me about what we did and what it looked like and all those things.
Okay, so here we go, pulling her up. So this was, again, another really like multifaceted campaign. And so what we started with was this concept called the Wish Book. The Wish Book was going to be our cornerstone print piece for the organization. It wasn't a card. It was literally like something that you would open up like, and we did this last year too. And remember the Sears catalogs we all used to get as kids, and you would like sit on the floor with your Sears catalog and you'd like flip through the pages and like circle the things that you wanted for Christmas, and then like basically like hand the book back to your mom, or like, you know, mark pages. We wanted to do something similar for Girls Inc. So we asked their staff and their girls to come up with a list of wishes that they would want granted, of items, you know, that would really help them fulfill their mission. And so they came back with a list of, I think, almost 20 items that we developed into a wish book. So once we had the items, we then hired a photographer to essentially go through each item and photograph each item as you would a catalog. So for instance, if you look to the right side of the presentation here, and we have emergency operations equipment. That was clearly a staff-driven like request, but we set up each shot to accommodate that. So it wasn't just a photographer walking around getting a bunch of like B-roll shots that looked good. It was very specifically set up to tell the micro story of that item. And with Girls Inc., we've been working, really digging into their strong, smart, bold theme for the entire year. So we've been working with them. We worked with them all 2021. And so we've been really driving home strong, smart, bold, and a completely new look. So their look is much more like, I think we use it bold whimsy is kind of like how we've been kind of describing it, but it's no longer just like blocks of red and black and gray, even though those are their colors. Like we're using purples and oranges, like all these complementary colors to start talking, to elevate, their brand a little bit, to, freshen their brand a little bit, and to honestly make it feel a little bit younger. Because it was very much serving an older audience, and we wanted a younger audience to feel like that this was something that they could be included in as well. And so once the wish book was developed and printed, we actually did a cover letter on top of the wish book, hand signed. I'm still a big fan of hand signatures whenever possible. I feel very old by saying that, but that's okay. And so once we got that going, we basically kind of followed the same script that we followed with CAVC. We had our three micro themes: strong, smart, bold. We then put items from the wish book into each of those categories. And again, we did a 6-week execution of the strong, smart, bold campaign. We had a little bit of a hiccup in that the wish book dropped to mailboxes earlier than we were expecting. So we actually had to shift our schedule a little bit, but it ended up being just fine. So, there's some things that you can control, there's some things you cannot control. And when the printer decides to send your piece out a little bit early, that's what happens. Because we were hoping for it to drop, I think, the first week of December, and it dropped the week before or something.
What a great plug for like really thorough planning and developing all of the collateral in advance of starting the campaign, because what that meant is, yeah, there was an unexpected hiccup that moved the timeline forward. But if you were planning on doing all that work last minute, we couldn't have accommodated that unexpected like timeline shift.
Yeah. And I actually think it may have showed up like right before Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was it. So the only issue with that was that we actually didn't have the landing page completely done, which of course causes panic. So I would say that like have your landing page done before you send your files to the mail house. That was a good learning opportunity. Yeah. So for each 2-week micro campaign, we sent an email. We had a whole host of social media posts. Girls Inc. also had an Amazon wish list that we executed on Cyber Monday. And then they also used ThankView as part of their campaign as well. And they're also using ThankView as part of their stewardship campaign this past month too. So we're doing personalized ThankView videos for their donors that had given during the campaign.
So this is the perfect segue. Talk to me about the prep work that went into these campaigns that contributed to the success, and give us sort of a to-do list over the next 9 months to really set us up for success at the end of this year.
Absolutely. So with all of these campaigns, like with the exception of, Channel Items because they came on later in the year, but Community Action and Girls Inc., we had been really working with a lot of the same visual look, feel throughout the entire year, as well as the same type of wording for the entire year. So when it came to Community Action, like we were constantly talking about pulling people out of poverty, helping people stay at home. So that way, when the end of year campaign came around, these themes have already been ingrained into the audience. And we communicated frequently throughout the year. So every client has at least a monthly newsletter so that people are receiving information monthly from the organization and not just getting, contacted at the end of the year when they want money. That to me is not, that is not a relationship. That is not, that is not fundraising. So we basically, with Girls Inc. particularly, we had completely rebranded, refreshed their brand. And so we used that refresh palette, like style, like language in every aspect of their communication, in every aspect of like their events, their other, solicitations, etc. So again, like when it comes to the end of the year, like it feels like the donor has seen it before and it's not something completely out of the blue. And I think that like people often believe that they need to have this completely different look, feel, style for their end of year campaign. It's actually just like putting something that you've been doing for the entire year, like on like huge like display, and really going into that super hard instead of just like sprinkling it everywhere. Then you're just like blowing it out at that point. So find a theme that you want to do for this year, like that like really reflects your nonprofit organization's like mission. Stick like incorporate that theme throughout the year, and then just drive it home super hard at the end of the year, because it's most of the work's taken care of for you.
I also want to put a plug for like really nice photos. Please don't use stock photos. An investment in a photographer to really get vibrant images of your mission, vision, values, the ROI is incredible, and the investment is actually not that huge. So please hire a professional photographer to get real quality images of y'all executing your missions. We can refer some people if you need a recommendation. Don't rely on some random board member with a phone. Like, just that's something like such an easy investment to make a couple times throughout the year to give you like really beautiful imagery of your mission in action.
And it's really funny because even though we were talking about the need, like that you don't need to have super polished video, but you're right, like super good imagery does make a really big difference, because imagery does tell that story in a way that a video cannot convey. 25. Okay, so with that, we're going to stop talking. We're going to open it up. So if you have questions, go ahead and drop them into the chat, or if you want to come off of mute and chat with us as well, like we're here. I also love that we're both wearing cream sweaters today. So
nailed it. Well, and I would love, y'all here are fundraisers and nonprofit professionals. What successes did you guys have with your end of year? What challenges did you face? What questions do you have that we can help answer, or even answer as a community about what the right next steps are for this year? So I don't know, come off mute, raise your hand, put it in the chat.
And this is one of the few times we're doing a very like informational, like teaching style building forward. Like we tend to tackle topics like at a broad level. But we just know that end of year campaigns are so important to like nonprofit success that we thought that we would actually change it up for y'all today. So yeah, what happened to you? How was your December?
Well, first of all, this was really helpful. I'm Megan Turley. I work at UCSB at the Kavli Institute for Theoretical Physics. And my big win this year was convincing our director to actually have a suggested gift amount in the letter itself. And so we basically did something similar to Girls Inc., a little bit different, where we laid out like how much 100 cups of coffee would cost for physicists, because at KITP, we all know that physicists run off of coffee. And so how much would that cost? And you can put that, $200, right? Or $500 for a conference registration fee for one of our early career scientists, or $1,000. And we started at the lowest suggestion was their most recent gift. And then everything else was higher than that. And a vast majority of them went up $50 to $100, which is, not huge in the grand scheme of things, but if that happens every year, that's going to be a huge return on investment. So it was really exciting to actually like have a more polished campaign and have something to show for it, as opposed to bringing in the same amount of money and saying, okay, well, I don't really know what that did.
Yeah, no, Girls Inc. used to do just like, did you guys used to do just like the form letters? Yeah.
It was basically just a reminder saying, hey, renew your annual membership in this program. And here are the options. And you just check a box, and everyone always just checked the lowest box.
Well, and what I love is like how smart your campaign was. And so it really illustrates, like, you must have your database nailed, right? Because you even know what someone's like average gift is, and you're able to like personalize what that ask is, which is so smart. And the other thing that I love is that it's like kind of fun, like physicists run on coffee, so here's how you keep them running, like buy more coffee. Like, that's so fun. I love that.
Science can be boring. Science can be fun.
Science is fun.
We're trying to get that message out there.
Well, good job. Keep it up.
Yay, Megan.
Megan. All right, who else has a success story to share?
I don't have a success story to share, but I do have a question I would love to ask. And that is, do you guys have a preference for whether or not a match would be best used in the spring or the end of year campaign?
Super funny question because Channel Islands does both. So they do a campaign in spring that is called Matching May. So they literally like line up 1 or 2 donors like every single year. I think it's the same 1 or 2 donors like that they've been using for a couple of years now. And yeah, they do Matching May and they do a matching gift for their end of year campaign. And so matching gifts are really good, or just those kind of like incentive benchmark gifts tend to be really good regardless. I like a spring opportunity just because you might be able to get an additional gift out of somebody that they would not have given, otherwise. People will tend, if they are if you're good at stewarding them, they will repeat year after year. But then you can get that second gift in the spring that you may not have been able to get before. So if I had to pick one, I'd go spring.
Okay.
I like that too, because I think there would be less noise during the spring, like everyone does an end of year campaign, but there would be less chatter during the spring for sure. And I want to underscore too what Christiana said about stewardship. Please don't just ask people for money. Please tell them what you're doing with their money, say thank you, invite them into your mission, vision, values. Like, it just feels so icky when the only time you connect with your people is with your handout. Like, that's not successful fundraising. And a great indicator of if you're doing good stewardship is if people drop off or if they continue to give. Like, if you're not doing great stewardship, you're just going to see those donors give once and drop off.
And we all know donor attrition numbers, and we all know, what the second gift numbers are, and they're terrible. And it's because of stewardship. But if you get that immediate thank you, not just like the form letter, but the phone call from the board, from a board member, that immediate kind of card or something that's a little more personal. And then if you get something out within a few weeks after that, and then you get something out that's like a month or 2 after that, just like get at least 4 touch points in before the middle of the year.
And make sure one of them is inviting them to participate, because like really that's why a lot of us give, is because we care about the mission, vision, values, and we want to get involved in that.
Even if they don't show up, they're going to feel good that you asked.
Well, and plug for Thank You. Like, those videos have such a great ROI. They're so impactful. They feel really meaningful. They feel new and fresh. They feel personalized if you take that extra piece of time. But what we've heard too is they're actually really easy to do. So when you said, like, who was it? Ken recorded 20 in individual videos. I'm like, oh my God, that sounds terrible. It sounds like so much work. But what's really cool about this software is that it makes it really easy to record and to deliver those pieces. So like, huge plug for them. We've had a lot of success with our clients.
Can I ask a quick question about
Nico for bringing that one on?
Yeah, Nico.
So thank you. Does that, can you like click the play button and have it play in the email that it's sent in, or does it have to take you to another page? Because that is my dream of like not having to have donors like navigate to any additional pages.
Email's not there yet.
Yeah. Okay. But it's, they're thinking about it. Okay.
Yeah. But the way that it shows up in your inbox, like, have you seen those e-bite invitations? Like when you get the e-bite, and so it's an envelope and then you click on the envelope. It's the exact concept. So you click on the envelope, or like, here's your personal message. Click on the envelope. It takes you into that secondary screen. Yes, it's another screen, but that's where the video then pops up with an ask below it. And ThankView now has an integration where you can drop your giving page right below the video.
Oh, cool.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I think I saw that Nico is here, so he might be able to put some of his stats into the chat, but we're getting like crazy open rates and crazy click rates that are,
it's absurd.
Completely absurd. And so maybe we should do a quick tutorial or something on ThankView We think they're
And
awesome.
Thank was recently bought by Evertrue at the end of last year. So Evertrue donor systems, it's going to be immediately integrated into that. It's also getting integrated into Donor Perfect. So if anybody runs a Donor Perfect platform, you're going to be able to do ThankView videos out of your DP software soon. So you can do it as a standalone software, but it's having more and more platform integrations. I know it's not going to integrate into UCSBs, but we all know that. But yeah, the fact that it's like more and more like easy to use without needing to be its own software, you can do it straight from the database, I think is beautiful.
Yep. Other success stories, share with us what you did and what your results were. And oh, here, Nico put in the chat, the CIR open rate was 73%. Are you kidding me? That's insane. Girls Inc. was 53% and CAVC was 49%. That's insane, y'all. And I see.
I don't know if I would put CIR's donor base as like possibly being our oldest skewed too.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I love that.
I love it too. And I see Cecily just popped on. I know that she's put some of her clients into ThankView as well. I think doing like sponsorship stewardship. So don't forget that like your corporate sponsors are donors and they also need to be stewarded. And so I think she had some really big sponsor program successes over the last couple years. And so then pushing her clients, her board members to send those thank yous to the corporate sponsors, which again, even during a pandemic, we saw those sponsor programs grow, which is wild for an event that we had event sponsorship programs grow.
Yeah.
And it's because we did really good stewardship of those corporate sponsors.
And I think too, hi everyone, I'm Cecily. I think too, what was so successful about it was just the fact that like our board really was able to highlight stats from our conference of like, here's how many scholarships we were able to provide, like thanks to your donation and sponsorship this year. And it was a lot more like of a mission focused thank you. And yeah, we had great open rates. Nico definitely helped me with that project. Huge shout out to Nico. And yeah, I actually just hopped off a call with the board and we're starting to ask all those organizations to approach them for sponsors again this year. So,
well, and yeah, even as a corporate sponsorship program for an event, right? You can still make it mission, vision, values focused. Here's the impact of your money. It wasn't just like to rent this room. It was to bring these vulnerable populations into this educational setting. Love it. Love it.
Seriously cool. Okay.
Anyone else want to hop in, share your successes?
Ask your questions.
All right, my friend. I think we've done it.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
The first one of 2022. Flawless. Go us.
Go us. We will be coming to your Zoom screen the first Wednesday of every month. You will get a couple of invites from us. Let us know what topics you want us to cover. We're here to be sassy about whatever you want to hear about. So
you weren't nearly as sassy today.
No, not quite. We could do better next time.
On it. Okay.
Okay.
We'll do better.
All right.
Thanks, friends.
Happy 2022. It was good to see all of you. Bye.